Yes. I was like that. Red flag. Hey dancers, it's Kirsten. Welcome back to the Confident Dancer YouTube channel. Today I'm getting a little salty for you guys, all in the name of good fun and entertainment. I'm going to talk about my pet peeves as a ballet teacher. And then I'm also going to do a version as a dancer about ballet teachers. Okay, this is all in good fun. I'm not trying to be judgy. But you know, I got opinions, and what better place than the internet to just let them out. So I'm gonna just go through my pet peeves as a ballet teacher about things students do sometimes. All good if you do this. Just maybe also some feedback. We can learn from this too, because I know that I've talked to other friends who teach ballet and they feel similarly about these things. So, oh, and yeah, I keep forgetting to introduce myself. If you're new, hi, welcome. So glad you're here. I'm Kirsten. I used to be a full-time professional ballet dancer. Now I just dance for fun on the side. I, of course, teach also for fun on the side, but my primary job is working as a mindset coach for dancers, meaning I help dancers, especially at that pre-professional to professional level, overcome the mental blocks that stop them from dancing with confidence and dancing their best consistently. So if you want to work together, there's links down below to find out more about what I do and how to work together if you're interested. So anyway, let's get into it. Okay, so pet peeve number one, not finishing the combination. Okay, I'm calling myself out on this one too, because sometimes I catch myself kind of give up before it's over, and I'm like, Kirsten, we know better. Practice self-respect. Just finish. Show up for yourself and do it like you mean it. You know, I have to tell myself this too. Okay, so if you do it, you're not alone. We all do it sometimes. But when students consistently, even though I advise them otherwise, and I say, okay, strong finish, or I'll give them a specific count. This is how we're going to finish. We go plie 1, stretch 2, hold 3, hold 4, and then you can break form. It will still be like, ugh, crash down at the bar after a balance doesn't go well and just stand there. And I'm like, integrity! Where's your integrity? I don't say that, but I'm thinking it, okay? Because for me, it's like an integrity thing. Finish what you start, do what you mean, do it well, put your whole self into it. I know that sometimes you don't always have to finish what you start if what you start isn't worthwhile, but for the sake of ballet class, if you are doing a combination, the music is on. Even if you mess up the final pirouette, fine. If the balance doesn't go well, fine. Like, you can still put your other foot down and make a 5th position. And then stand there with some conviction. Pet peeve number 2, not asking real questions. Learning how to ask questions well is a very valuable life skill. If you've ever been in my classes, you know I will just go off on life lessons and I'll try to connect like what we do in the classroom to how it will benefit you in your life, especially your adult life, because I'm teaching teenagers most of the time. When dancers are like, they basically say a problem like, I don't know, I always fall back in my pirouettes. Like, raise hand. I always fall back in my pirouettes. Pause. I'm like, so what's your question? Okay? Like, how do you want my help with that? What do you want to know? I know that I could assume what that dancer means and give her some advice, but I don't want to keep reinforcing that just throwing out a problem is beneficial. Rather, instead, I'm like, okay, well, what is your question? What specifically do you want to know? And then I'll have the dancer show me the pirouette and show me how they're doing it, so then I can provide specific guidance. And I try to tell them, okay, you know, I could just stop here and give you general advice, but wouldn't it be so much more helpful if you had something specific in mind, like a specific outcome you wanted to get to? Like, I would like help on learning how to stay forward in my pirouettes. Can you watch my pirouette and tell me, you know, how to do that better? Something more directive, like, again, I can assume, but if the student is more specific in the question that they're asking and they actually ask a question, then that helps me to give them much more targeted and helpful information. A really great way to ask the question is minimal context. Like, sometimes context is helpful, but a lot of times dancers go super heavy on the context. Like, sometimes, you know, I tried this and I was trying to think of this and then this happened and this, it's like, okay, well, what's your question? Like, let's get to the point here. You can say, I find myself falling back in my pirouettes. I want to know how to stay forward and finish up have a floaty quality before I finish. How can I do that? I pointed out the point A to point B. Like, here's where I'm starting. I'm falling back with my pirouettes. Here's the point B. Here's where I want to go. The C part is, how do I do that? What tip do you have? It's the directive to the teacher. Here's how you can help me. That's a really, really great way for the teacher to know how to help you best. I'm gonna get real sassy for pet peeve number 3. I feel like this is maybe, you know, I'm biased. I've only been alive for 29 years. I have not been alive for other generations necessarily, but I feel like this is maybe a recent generation thing. Y'all can tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. But I have noticed that so many students, young teenagers, you're naturally like psychologically in a very image conscious phase of your life. So I totally empathize with that and understand. However, my pet peeve is when dancers habitually look in the mirror while they are trying to talk to me. I'm looking at myself in the mirror, but I'm asking you a question. I'm like, oh my gosh, it just reads as like so vain and self-obsessed and also like not present. I'm like, are you even really like paying attention to my input or what I have to say, or do you even care that I'm here because you're looking at yourself while you're talking to me? Like, I had some classmates back when I was a student who I noticed would always do that, and I was like, my 4th pet peeve is when dancers demonstrate the non-can-do attitude. Meaning they decide ahead of time that they're just not good at something, and so then they don't try. This is the fixed mindset exhibit A, and it's very common. We're all doing it. A lot of times we don't even know we're doing it. Sometimes it comes out as like very, very subtle self-sabotage. That's why our beliefs are very, very important, my friends. And so if you believe, oh, I'm just not good at that thing, I'm just not a jumper, I'm just not a turner, you will naturally put in, sometimes it shows up as putting in less effort or putting in effort. Like, you practice your pirouettes, you stay after class, but when it doesn't go well, you're like, see proof I'm not good at it, and you get super frustrated, and then you feel like you don't make progress, and then you're in such a tense, frustrated state that it's actually difficult to try something new. I'm sure that lines up with a lot of your experience. And so having that fixed mindset of like, oh, I just can't do it, I'm just not good at it, and especially when that manifests as not putting in the effort and showing full commitment to the movement, for me as a teacher, it drives me nuts, because I'm like, well, you're literally not letting yourself get better at it. Like, you're actually just stopping yourself. So like, why are we even here if that's going to be the mentality you choose? I understand that like we're all on a journey with our confidence and things like that. So don't hear me wrong. Like, I'm very compassionate and empathetic and understanding. I try to practice a lot of understanding with my students and just everyone in general. But that is one of those things when I keep seeing it over and over. It's like, we've talked about this enough times where you know at this point that you're really just deciding that you're not good at it, and so then you're sabotaging your effort. And we've talked about like how to change your mindset. You're continuing to stay in that story. Like, that's where it's like, ugh. All right, pet peeve number 5, you are perpetually off the music. For me, I know this is normal. This is probably very normal, but like, I'm obsessed with musicality. I love music. I love musicality. I've played the piano since I was 5. Like, I just love the connection between dance and music. And listen, everybody has their moments of being off the music, everybody. So like, I get it. But when dancers are like always in their own little world, and I try to continue to be like, you know, I clap with them. I'm like, count, plie, 4, up, 5. Like, I'm doing it with them. I'm snapping. I'm like, come on, like, it's not fast. Like, we can do this. And you're still behind the music. I'm like, it's like so nails on the chalkboard for me. So nails on the chalkboard, because I'm like, for me, I have such a physical connection to music. And so when I'm hearing the music and there's this really clear like downbeat, and then when they're going like up and the music is going down, and I'm feeling like that connection to the music in my own body, and I'm seeing them do something different, it's just like, oh, it just grates on me. It just, And you know, that's my own personal development opportunity. I really try not to show it or like project frustration. I try to project encouragement, like, okay, or I'll talk about it, or I'll share some tips on musicality, or I'll pause to make sure that students understand how to count the music. But yeah, when it keeps happening though, like, that is definitely what's going on the inside of me. Pet peeve number 6, you guys, it's a weird one. It's about the hands. Like, I'm very particular about ballet hands, and there are some specific ways that some dancers hold their hands that it's just, there's something about it that's just really weird to me. And here's the one position that drives me crazy. It's the tucked in pinky finger. And either I've seen dancers kind of dance, I'm trying to do, it's honestly really hard for me, but it's like either a tucked in pinky finger, I'm trying to look in the viewfinder to make sure I'm doing it right, or like curled in. It's, oh, I hate it so much. Instead of like, you know, having, oh my gosh, my hands just look dumb because I'm like trying to fit it inside of the camera viewfinder. But yeah, like instead of kind of having a lifted pinky finger, obviously, I mean, I'm not going for this or anything, but like a little lift, like the pinky, it's there, it's defined, like she's in her own space, you know, rather than like the shriveled hands. I can't even do it, but like, do you know what I'm talking about? The last one, finally, number 7, is when students just refuse to interact or speak in response to questions I ask, like at all. Dead quiet. It's straight up scary as a teacher when you go into a room, especially of new students, and you ask them questions and they're just like, you know, it's like a sea of 40 young dancers who also look strangely intimidating, and you know that you are the adult in the room, but like when they're all stonewalling you, it's like, it's honestly scary. I know it's not just me because I've talked to teacher friends about this, like when they won't say anything at all, like you try to lighten the mood a little bit and they're still so serious and no one will respond, or you're like, any questions about that? Always silence. Are we ready? Silence. Do we need a mark? Silence. Until like, thank you, everyone claps at the end, and they just leave. There's something eerie about it. It's a really weird experience. So that's a big pet peeve for me. But then also like when students won't ask questions when they actually need to ask a question. Now I understand, like I take a lot of responsibility for that on myself as a teacher. Whenever that happens, I think, oh, okay, maybe I haven't established enough rapport with them, enough connection, enough a space to make them feel comfortable to talk to me. And so, yeah, I try to work on that myself. But then once I know I've done everything I can, then I'm like, okay, guys, let's challenge ourselves to ask a question. Like, okay, I've done everything I can to make you comfortable, and now it's your job to really speak up, okay? But yeah, like when the combination goes absolutely haywire, but it's because the dancers, like I'm like, does anyone have any questions? And it's like, again, silence. I'm like, if y'all, I ask that question because I actually do want to hear if you have some questions. So I also understand y'all if like some people are coming from other backgrounds where they've worked with teachers who are actually very intimidating and threatening, and they respond in a very hostile way when dancers have questions. I, again, try to be very empathetic to that and understanding like, okay, sometimes there's more going on there than just, oh, they don't want to speak up. But sometimes I know it's just, they're just not using the words. So like I try to ask and be inquisitive, but I'm like, okay, guys, we need to be able to ask questions. We need to work on it. It's okay if you are afraid of sounding silly, like we all do when it comes out the first couple times, like you're gonna get better at it. It's okay. Like I want to know, but yeah, sometimes I still get the like, I will not talk to you, lady. It's weird. Anyway, those are my 7 pet peeves as a ballet teacher. I hope you receive this in good fun, and I would love to hear what are some of your pet peeves. Even if you're not a ballet teacher, what are some of your pet peeves in the classroom? I would honestly love to hear it. Again, let's all do this in the spirit of support and just laughs and good fun, like not trying to be really serious or judgy here, just here for some laughs. So hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like it if you enjoyed a video like this. I'll be happy to put more out. Speaking of, I will be making that part 2 about pet peeves as a student. I think I'll be doing that. So come back for part 2 if you're into that. All right, bye.